Hello, little soldiers. How are you today? I am going to read to you the next part in the American Revolution. Kind of what happens next, right? We're all wondering about that. But first, let's review what we've learned so far. I have some questions for you, and I want you to think about them and answer. And you can pause them to answer if you'd like, and we'll see if your answer is about the same as mine. So the first question I have is, why were the colonists at war with Great Britain? Why was that? What is this war all about? If you said that the colonists were upset that they were being taxed and not having any representation, not having any say about where their money was going to go, and decided, hey, we want to be our own country and make our own rules and rule ourselves, then you are absolutely right. The next question, who was the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army? You better know this one. Who is it? That's right, it's me, General George Washington. Who were the Redcoats? You'll never see me in a red coat, that's for sure. Who were they? They were you got it, the British soldiers. Good job, you guys are on it. And what about this question? What kind of weather did Washington and his army have to endure or have to put up with when they were crossing the Delaware and at Valley Forge? Do you remember what kind of weather it was? Was it ideal weather? Was it beautiful weather? No, it was snowy and cold, wasn't it? A lot of them didn't even have shoes or proper coats to keep warm. It was a rough one, wasn't it? Now, I have another question for you. Do you think that Washington was a brave man? Why or why not? I want you to think about this one and tell an adult or tell your dog or your study buddy or your little brother or sister or older brother or sister, why do you think that George Washington was a brave man, or why do you think he was not a brave man? Are you done? Did you pause me and you go tell somebody? I hope so, little soldiers. And this last one, the British got help from Germany. The colonists asked which country in Europe for help to fight the war against the British. Which country did they ask? You tell me. I want you to show me a sentence on your whiteboard. And then you're going to take a picture of this and send it to me on homeroom, or send it to Miss Darcy, because honestly, I don't check homeroom. So your sentence, but Miss Darcy sure does, doesn't she? So your sentence should look something like this. The British, capital letter, right, to start it off. You guys have been awesome at that. Asked. Remember, we have our root word ask. We're going to add our ed, even though it sounds like a t, it's still our ed. The British asked blank for help. You can end it there, or you can add for help to fight the war, whatever you'd like. Who did they ask for help? Make sure whoever they did ask, whatever country in Europe, that you capitalize that country because it is a proper noun. Show me your pictures, little munchies. Now, the name of this story we're going to read today is called Will This War Never End? Does that make it sound like it's a long war and it's going on for a really long time? Yeah, it sounds like maybe they were getting frustrated. So listen up and find out, will this war never end? By the spring of 1778, General Washington and his Continental Army at Valley Forge were in much better spirits. Soldiers and supplies had arrived from France. The army was better prepared, and the bitterly cold weather was behind them. They were ready to take on the British once more. Fighting continued all across the colonies, on land and on sea, and in the wilderness west of the Mississippi River. Will this war never end, people wondered. Is it worth the loss of so many lives? The war was shifting south now, and the British, under the command of General Cornwallis, felt confident that they could defeat the colonial militia at long last. So confident means that they're very certain. Why do you think the British felt so certain or confident that they would beat the British Army? The colonials. Probably because they were more trained, weren't they? And they had the help of the Germans. And they've won more than they've lost so far. So they were very confident that we'll win this, no problem. Indeed, the British won quite a few battles in the South. Little did they know that their successes were about to end. In 1781, 6 long years after the first shot of the war was fired in Lexington, Massachusetts, things began to look promising for the Continental Army. 6 years later, that's like your whole life. George Washington received news that 28 French ships were on their way to the coast of Yorktown, Virginia, where General Cornwallis and the Redcoats were camped. He was very excited. George Washington came up with a plan to trap the British. General Washington's troops, now camped in New York, marched all day and often through the night to Yorktown, Virginia, a town built on the banks of the York River, just a little inland from the Atlantic Ocean. While Washington moved his troops over land, French ships moved in by sea. The British couldn't escape by land because the Continental Army was blocking them, and they couldn't escape by sea because the French ships were blocking them there. George Washington and his forces had the British blocked from both sides. British drummer boys waved a white flag to show they were surrendering. The word surrendering means giving up. I'm done. We give up. You win. And bands are rumored to have played a tune called The World Turned Upside Down. It must surely have seemed like an upside-down world to the British, who were used to winning wars and ruling colonies. Now they had lost a war. They would no longer rule over the American colonies. The British Army was captured at Yorktown, and all the fighting in the colonies soon ended. The British sailed home, and George Washington stepped down as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army. It took 2 years of meetings in Paris, France, to plan for peace. In 1783, Benjamin Franklin was there to sign the peace agreement that gave the American colonies their independence. They were finally free of British rule. They would no longer have to pay taxes to the British king. Their new nation reached from Canada to the north, or in the north, to Florida in the south, to the Mississippi River in the west. Now that the British were no longer in charge of the colonists, and the colonists did not have to pay the rules of a distant king, who would rule the new nation? Some suggested George Washington be made king. King, he scoffed. We have been fighting to rid ourselves of a king. Our new government must be one where the people rule. But how? George Washington, exhausted by 6 years of battle, wanted only to go back to his family. He loved Mount Vernon, his home on the Potomac River in Virginia. He dreamed of being able to ride peacefully about his farm, listening to birdsong instead of shouting out orders to his men. Washington's wife, Martha, had been a great help to him during the war, bringing food and clothing to his troops during their long, hard winters, and even camping out with them in their field tents. She, too, looked forward to spending time with her husband in the comfort of Mount Vernon. But George Washington was not able to relax on his farm for too long, as you will soon learn, but not today. So I've been waiting to show you this. This is my home in Mount Vernon. Isn't it lovely? Didn't get to spend a lot of time there fighting this war, and you'll find out that in tomorrow that I didn't get to spend much time there after the war either. But that's for tomorrow. For today, I would like to ask you a few questions. Now, how did I win the war? How did Washington win the war? What did I do? I trapped them, didn't I? Or we trapped them. The French were coming in by sea, so they couldn't escape that way. And my Continental Army was coming in by land, so the British couldn't escape that way. And we trapped them. And they're like, ah, we're trapped. And they surrendered, didn't they? Yes, they did. And we're free. We're a free country. Now what? Well, tomorrow you're going to find out what happened after we were a free country. For today, I'd like you to take out your core folder. Get that out right now, please. Here it is now. I know, little munchies, how much you guys like to color and do little activities. So in your core book today, you have what's called My American Revolution book. So get out that packet, put the rest away, and you are going to work on this today. You can work on it as much as you'd like, or you can save some for later, just like you do in the classroom. If you don't get it done, do some later. So in your American Revolution book, you have coloring sheets. You have a word search. I know how you love word searches. You have, you can practice signing John Hancock's signature on the Declaration of Independence in cursive handwriting. There are some more coloring sheets. The Boston Tea Party's in there. Ooh, a color by number. I want to see that one. That's going to be pretty. A dot to dot. A maze, a shadow match. Oh, we've got the first flag in there again. You can color if you'd like. Our 13 colonies, some more color pages. Lots of fun stuff in there. So do as much as you'd like. Have fun with your little book, and I will see you tomorrow, my little soldiers.